I'm Natalia Hepworth with BYU-Idaho Radio, and welcome to the Fulfilling the Mission podcast. This podcast, we're exploring how the faculty and administration are helping students become disciples of Jesus Christ. I'd like to welcome Jason Reeder and Sarah Sanchez today. Welcome.
Good to be with you.
Yeah, thanks.
So let's introduce Jason. He became the Communication Department Chair in December of 2023, following Mark Skinner, who was the previous chair. You've been with the university for almost 14 years, and you started in admissions.
Correct.
That's awesome. Tell me about all the departments that you've worked in here on campus.
So I started in the admissions office, doing kind of marketing and communication stuff there, and went from admissions to the alumni office. And again, it's a very similar role, just marketing and communication related, stuff there. From alumni, I went to a department called Student Life Communications, which actually does not exist anymore. It was kind of absorbed into university relations, that's where I ended up working as well. So admissions, alumni, student life communications, university relations, and then now faculty member. So
what a journey.
Yeah, it's been a good ride.
That's so cool. But I'm assuming that where you are now is obviously your favorite spot.
I've loved all the different roles. They're all just different. And I'm super happy with where I'm at. I love it. So it's been awesome.
Wonderful. Sarah, you're doing social media. And what else? Why don't you introduce yourself and tell me your major again?
Yeah, so I'm a communication major. My emphasis is digital and social media. And I'm also getting a certificate in marketing. And so I'm in my last semester as well. So yeah, I've been at BYU-Idaho for a while. I've worked on campus too, actually, and the Student Success Division. So I helped out with some of their marketing in their department as well. But hey, yeah.
Awesome. Well, the communication department has so many different offerings. It's the most in this college, it seems like, out of everybody else that I've interviewed. But there's about 6 different areas of emphasis. There's minors, there's clusters, and concentrations. Did I get all that right?
Yeah.
And we have digital and social media, news and journalism, public relations, strategic organizational communication, video production, and visual communication. That's a lot.
There's a lot going on.
Why do we offer so much to the student population?
When they go through the communication degree, they'll have kind of that general communication experience, but then the idea with the different areas of emphasis is that they're able to then specialize and kind of get really kind of drill down specific into the area that kind of most interests them. And they can kind of package that up with, more than one thing. So, I always I guess I'm selfishly promoting the digital social media emphasis, but with that emphasis, I think it partners up really well with the visual emphasis, where they're learning how to design things and be, the designer of sorts, and be able to package those together, makes them a stronger content creator. And so and we got video, we got journalism. It's nice because it gives students an opportunity to kind of package up a couple areas of interest and make them more well-rounded, but also get a little more depth in some of those certain areas as well as emphases.
Right. So how did you ever choose what emphasis to do? There's a lot to choose from.
Yeah, it was hard. I'll be honest, at the beginning. I was actually a video production emphasis my first 2 semesters because I did some of that in high school. And so I was like, oh, this might be a fun path to go down. And then I took some of the classes and I figured it was fun, but I don't think it'd be the right fit for me. And then so I went on a mission, but after coming back from my mission, I had a little bit of taste of social media and what that would be like. So I came back and I was like, I think that might be a realm that I want to delve into more. And when I started taking those classes, I just loved it. I thrived. I loved the teachers. I loved the content I was learning. And so I was like, okay, I'll stick with this. But Brother Reeder was saying, I still did take some journalism classes or some visual design classes where I got to learn Illustrator and Photoshop programs and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of how I guess I morphed into it, digital and social media.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'm a little biased because I was also a communication major and then I did visual communication. But I think one thing that I remember about going to school here is the bad rap that communication majors would get, because people would say, oh, you're not a real major, you're not doing STEM, you're not doing math. We are so much more project based, but these projects are so intense and they're really hard and difficult, and you have to do a lot of problem solving as a communication major. So, in defense of us communication majors, what would you say to maybe people who have misconceptions about what comm majors actually do?
That's a good question. I mean, I feel like a communication major has the ability to work in most any field, really. I mean, when I worked at my first job, when I worked at Melaleuca doing brand management, I worked alongside students from BYU and other places that had gone into like finance and marketing. And what was the other? There was, I think there might even have been just a general business management. And here I was from BYU-Idaho and with a communication degree. At the time, I had an advertising emphasis, but we all had different majors or I guess a educational background of sorts, but we all are doing the same job. And so we're working in a business doing brand management, marketing, promotion, and our paths looked a little bit different to get there. And sure, maybe this finance background brings things that maybe wasn't my wheelhouse, but that was okay. And that was okay for the company, right? Otherwise, they wouldn't have brought us on in that way. But I brought in, a communication background with, the creative and message and strategy and things like that, that maybe had been maybe on the weaker side with maybe somebody else that didn't spend as much time in that category. So there's lots of opportunities. I mean, that's how I got started. And I was alongside people that were very, very different backgrounds. But again, we landed in a lot of the same opportunities and roles together. And that's just one small example from just my path, right? But it goes well beyond that for others as well. You can do pretty much anything.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Sarah, have you run into that as a communication major when you tell people what you're doing and what you plan on doing in the future?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like the meme where it's like, oh, biomed majors doing their homework and they're like on a test and like communication majors communicating, and it's like that's not what we do, it's more than that. It's more than that. And I feel like I'm guilty of it because I was one of those people. I was like, what do communication majors even do? And then now I'm a comm major about to graduate. And so I just feel like there are so many useful things you learn in a communication major that at least for me, that I know I wouldn't have gotten those skills in a different major. Like we have like public speaking classes and like, organizational classes of like how to like better a business. And so I feel like there's lots of skills that you learn within this major that just make you a desirable like employee because you know how to communicate well, you know how to talk well and present yourself well. And I feel like that's something that's like very emphasized is like the professionalism in the major. Minus all like the skills and things that you learn. But I feel like for me, like my perception, I guess, of a comp major was completely changed the minute I started taking comp classes. I said, oh, wait, this is really hard. Like, it's not just like something that you breeze through. Like, there's a lot of thought and a lot of creativity and a lot of initiative that you have to take in order to be successful in the major. Um, and so, yeah, I think, every major has their own hard classes and hard things you have to do. And I think comms included in that for sure.
Yeah, very well said.
Can I make another comment on that too? I feel like students sometimes well, I get that question, right? Like, what am I going to do with this? Or what do you do with a communication degree? And I'll just kind of flip that question and they'll say, well, what do you want to do? And as they share what they want to do, like what their maybe career path or their goals or what they would make them happy, and I hear them out, I'm like, we can get you ready for that. So like, does that make sense? So it's kind of more answering it like, well, I could go on and on about all of the different opportunities that a communication degree would open up for you, but what do you want to do? And then I could probably either confirm that you're on a great path to be able to keep going down that or course correct you, right? That it's like, this may not be the right fit. It might look more like something like this, and we can kind of point you in that direction. But I would find more often than not, we have a place for them and they're going to be able to be well prepared for whatever that is that they are excited about going into.
Absolutely. It's the application of the creativity, it's the application of the writing skills, and the communication majors can do that, which is so cool. I was listening to Brian Howard's devotional, and he talked about how he makes his class do a journal of how many times media touches their day or how many times they've consumed media. And I was thinking about how many memes do I look at every single day? How many times do I click on Instagram or Facebook? And it's so integrated into our lives that really communication majors are indispensable, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I've taught the same class that Brother Howard's talking about, and it's a media literacy class, which again I love and is super powerful because yeah, it's teaching essentially students, to be a little bit more mindful about what they're consuming, and be it's the idea of Elder Bednar, like act versus being acted upon. If we help students understand that, like, if you're not willing to spend time shaping your own opinion or things like that, then the media will happily do that for you. And we kind of teach them the skills and things like that, to help them be a good steward over what they've been given, and the resources of their time and their money, and be able to exchange that for the entertainment and the value that they want out of it. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a solid class, and there's just little things like that that we're trying to teach our students, and that they'll walk away with, and yeah, they'll notice like there is no getting away from it. It is gonna media is like, will essentially, I don't want to say consume your life. It will if you let it, but it is definitely something that we're not going to be able to hide from or get away from.
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to discipleship and I mean, not abandoning our discipleship because we're trying to be professional or integrating discipleship into the work that we do with the media. What have you done to teach your students how to do that? And what are some of the things that you've taken away that you're hoping to bring with you as far as discipleship into your future career?
I would say for me, when I came to BYU-I had two goals, right? I wanted to graduate, and I'm coming to a church school, so I obviously wanted to strengthen my testimony. And it wasn't until I started taking these comm classes, I started learning more about what I wanted to do, that I realized those two goals aren't parallel, but they're intertwined in each other. Um, that as I develop my skills to be a professional in the field, I'm also deepening my relationship with Jesus Christ, and I'm relying on him more. And as I'm relying on him more, I have more guidance on what I want to do after graduation. And so I feel like for me, that like relationship with you know Jesus Christ and with the professors and all that, it's like so integrated at BYU-Idaho, and I feel like that's really been a key thing for my success personally. I know like other student success as well. So I definitely know that, you know, it's just integrated into classes, like the way that, you start with an opening prayer, the way that we're applying these principles into, okay, how can we apply this back to the gospel? I've been interviewing for jobs and things like that. And it's always top of my mind of, okay, what can I take as a disciple, a graduate disciple of Jesus Christ now out into the real world? And I think that's, it's disciple graduate. It's not one or the other.
I love that. That was beautifully said. Yeah. Jason, what are you teaching? Teaching your students, how are you teaching them to be firm defenders of our Savior? It can be really hard in this world.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I think my number one thing that I try to do is just be real with my students. So I don't know, I'm pretty transparent about like I'm not a perfect person, and I have a million trials and challenges in my own personal life. And I'm pretty open about like that, and letting them know that I'm a real human being, and I know the struggles. But I also then try to talk about how we're handling them, what we're doing, what I'm doing, to try to, relate and show, that I'm committed to my faith, and I'm committed to, trying to further my discipleship and rely upon my Savior Jesus Christ. And so I'm pretty open about that. I look for opportunities in the class where it's natural and normal, not to, to insert gospel principles where it's like, that we're all of a sudden I don't want to talk about one thing all of a sudden be like, where did that come from? Like that's not me anyways, but like there's plenty of those opportunities. Like one that comes to mind is actually this last week we were talking about segmenting, audiences, targeting, coming up with a target audience and how to position a message, and just brand positioning. And we talked about that, and then I kind of just again inserted there. I was like, I don't know if you ever thought about this. Our Savior has many titles, like, master teacher, the master healer, things like that. But I go, he's also the master marketer. I go, you maybe have not ever thought of him that way, but I go, just off of what we just talked about, I was like, isn't Christ perfect at dealing with us one-on-one? Meaning he segments us out one by one. He targets us that way. and he positions messages just the right way to resonate with us through the Holy Ghost. I was like, he is the master marketer, right? And so again, we're able to take those simple principles, apply it to the gospel and to our Savior, and they kind of are able to connect the dots from a secular standpoint and a spiritual standpoint, and they go hand in hand. It's not awkward, it's not weird, it's natural and normal, and we kind of grow together that way.
That's so cool. I'm going to go home and write that down. You taught me something today. That's awesome. Okay, what I want you to do now is hold up your wrist with all your bracelets on it because they're so fun and cool. And one thing that I think is really unique about you is just that you're just so versatile. Like, you have dynamic experience, you have unique interests that I think make you a really unique fit for the communication department. And you're also really young. I know you would disagree and I know you would argue with me, but as far as like a department chair, you are like, you bring a very unique and modern perspective into what these students are learning. How would you say that maybe other parts of your life or your interests is continuing to help shape students?
I mean, one of my interests in life is trail running. I like to do ultras, and it's
That's awesome.
it's ridiculous, really. Like, it's a problem.
Kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's like, and like just crazy distances, crazy races, and I talk to him about those things, and not because I'm trying to be like, oh, look at me, but it's like, honestly, what I'm after with that one is, it's like, guys, I did a hard thing. And I'll tell them, like, I did this crazy loop, and they're like, why? Like, what the heck, and I don't really have good answers to that in many ways, but like at the end of the day, I'm like, like what I learned from it is I can do hard things. I did a hard thing, it made me stronger. I learned a lot of lessons, and even from physical, like nutrition things, like practical things, but all the way to even just like, you know, I was suffering, and I had to kind of dig a little bit past myself to kind of get through this thing, and, not be reliant upon my own abilities. And again, so it's just like, here's what I like to do in life. And hopefully they can kind of see how that shapes who I am, but also how that, leads into, other things that I'm up to, and trying to share those experiences with them. I don't know, just being real.
I will say too, when I took Brother Reader's classes, he always kept it real with his students. And I think like whatever student you talk to knows that he's like a crazy runner, or he'd come to class, telling like, oh, like my kids just did this hilarious thing last night, or like, and so I think from the student perspective, it's good seeing like, okay, like here's this incredible professor we look up to who's super accomplished within the field, but he's a real person and he has hobbies and he has a family, and it's like it bringing back in like that disciple part too. Like we see the discipleship come out of, Brother Reader and our other professors, and it's like that's how I want to be both, when I get there.
Absolutely. How do you guys think you keep that authenticity in the right place? President Nelson has charged us with making like discipleship our highest priority. And I know sometimes the world will take that word authenticity and twist it and use it to justify maybe sin or things that they shouldn't. So how do you keep that authenticity in its place with discipleship still being your number one priority?
I don't know. I don't know how to fully answer that. I guess I just don't ever try to misrepresent myself. And again, I from day one, I introduce my family because I feel like that's part of who I am and what makes me tick. And they might be like, that's maybe not what they were fully expecting on the first day of classes. And we get into what we're going to be talking about, obviously. But I'm trying to show, I guess, that I'm authentic, and I'm not trying to misrepresent myself or be something that I'm not. And again, I share, like, Sarah said, I share life stories about stupid things that I do, or crazy things that we're experiencing as a family, or something that my kids say, or this or that. And we can laugh about it, maybe even cry about it a little bit, whatever that looks like. But I am who I am. I don't try to act differently. I'm not trying to, I don't know, put on a facade. Like, it's just, this is who I am. And I'm a normal person trying to be a disciple of Jesus Christ, just like they are. And we talk about it and we work through that together.
Good. Great answer. Sarah, how do you think BYU-Idaho is a light to the world?
Oh, it's a huge light. I would say this university provides so many things that you won't get anywhere else, even compared to like, other church institutions, or schools, like great places, but BYU Idaho, and they all have their own distinction, and BYU has its own light. Even like where we're sitting, like there's pictures of Christ everywhere on the walls. And so I feel like um, BYU Idaho has a unique, we always, hear about the spirit of Ricks and how there's like really that spirit when you come up here. But I feel like it's the students and it's the faculty and it's the professors and it's the people at BYU Idaho that make it a light. Without it, it's a beautiful campus and it's a dedicated campus, but it's the people here, um, and their testimonies and their desire to learn more and their desire to be disciple graduates. That is what makes BYU Idaho a light, I feel like. And that's why we can take that out into the world. We can take that ourselves out into the world, which brings BYU Idaho's light out into the world and shows people what we've learned and what we can do.
Yeah, great. So if you could go back to your freshman self years and years ago, what would you tell that Sarah about discipleship, about her disciple journey here at BYU Idaho? What would you tell her to look forward to?
How I would tell her that she'll be okay. I feel like coming to a school with so many amazing people who have strong testimonies and who, professors you look up to and you're like, how can I get there? I'm a TA right now for a class. And the teachers had some freshman people who she's mentoring come in, and I've looked at them and I see the questions they're asking, and the thing that I always have been saying in my head as they've been like, asking questions and coming for guidance is it's gonna be okay. Like you don't need to have it all figured out right now. Your testimony doesn't need to be perfect right now. I feel like for me, I felt like I needed to be at a certain level because I saw everyone else had that light already. Everyone else was at that level already. And it's just time. I feel like it's time enjoying the people here on campus, time enjoying the spirit here. And you just become a better person being here on campus and doing the things that you should be doing. And so I would just tell myself that it's going to be okay. We're going to figure it out. Like I said, I changed my major. I was stressed or I changed my emphasis. So I was stressed doing that, but everything works out as long as you keep Christ in the picture.
So how have you brought those aspects of discipleship into your own family? I know that you're a married student as well, but I would bet you anything that there's so many life lessons that maybe you've taken from campus and maybe applied to your own family.
So many, actually. It's funny because my husband, he's a biomedical science major here at BYU Idaho, and I'm a communication major. And it's funny because I love talking and I love communicating. That's like my big joke with him. And he learns different things that are in his strong suits that may not be, communicating per se. And so I come home from class, whether it's like, oh, hey, like I'm learning about this cool theory right now, or if it's like within my digital and social media classes and I'm like, look at this post, like, do you notice this and this and this? It's really cool because even though we have different shanks and different things that we're passionate about, the common thing is the spirit that is had in both our classes. He comes home and tells me about the spiritual thoughts that he has at the beginning of his class. And I come and I tell like, oh yeah, this, one of my professors shared this really cool thought, about Jesus Christ and how it relates to marketing, because both of our career paths involve Jesus Christ. And so I feel like it's been really cool being able to attend BYUI together because we have that special connection, not with our major, but with our discipleship.
Yeah, powerful message. Well, Jason, what are you doing to fulfill the mission of BYU Idaho within the communication department?
Oh man. Hmm. I mean, I just feel like helping to just educate and prepare our students for what's next, helping them be, graduates that will basically go out and I feel like fulfill President Eyring's prophecy. So he prophesied that BYU-Idaho graduates would be legendary for their capacity to build the people around them and to add value wherever they serve. And so my job is to help them be prepared to fulfill prophecy. And they're doing it. And they're going out, like you hear these stories, like that's the payoff is you hear these stories about students and what they're doing and the influence that they're having. Going back to your question about, how is BYU Idaho a light to the world? Like it's through the graduates. Like they're going out and doing amazing things, and people see that they're different, and if you go to that Steady Upward course talk, President Irene is like, where did that person come from? Like, what in the world? And he kind of says, come to me to Rexburg and I'll show you, and you'll feel it. And that's here. But it goes with our graduates wherever they end up, and they light up the world and they add value and they are doing amazing things. And it's just, I try to do whatever I can to prepare them to take that with them wherever they go.
Wow. Powerful thought. Thank you both so much for being here today. Jason Reeder, Sarah Sanchez, thank you for sharing your testimonies and your discipleship with us.
You're welcome.
Yeah, of course.